Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fear the Queer.
A show that talks about everything on our gay agendas. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Josh.
And on today's show, we are going to be discussing the 2016 documentary film Kiki that explores the LGBTQ community ballroom scene in the present day and how the lives of Black and people of color are affected in this current climate.
Yeah, basically, a lot of people call it like a spiritual sequel to the classic Paris is Burning. But we actually wanted to talk a little bit further about comparing the films, what works now, what's it like today's standards. Even though it was made in 2016, I will say that even now it feels like things have evolved. But
things have.
I'm already getting ahead of myself here. Before we get to the heart of our gay agenda, Kyle, what are you drinking today?
Oh, fuck.
Did you not get anything to drink?
No, I did get something to drink. I'm sorry. I just had an incoming FaceTime call. And it did it plop up on here? This is live. This is I mean, we're not live right now. This is recorded previously. But yeah, sorry. Someone just started calling me and I'm so shook because you asked what I was going to drink and now I'm like I need a drink. Right. Oh my God. You know what? Oh my God. This is, you know what? That's how you know we're unscripted, baby.
Exactly. I was going to say, you're just so damn popular that I can't even get you for 1 fucking hour for this show.
Well, no, I'm not even That's the thing. I'm not even popular. That's why I'm shocked. Oh, God. Someone's trying to contact me.
Like, what? Leave me alone.
Please. But I am drinking. It is a off-brand seltzer from Hamat. This is do you know that store, Hamat?
Yeah, up and coming. Very chic.
Yep, shop local. And it is black cherry. So we'll do a little. Oh, ooh. Don't you love when it opens?
I do.
Yeah, wait, I love when it opens. Did you hear
it? What exactly are you talking about there? Your legs.
Oh, if my legs open, it'd just be like this. Just tears flowing. My legs spread and they just go like this. Oh boy.
Just
yeah, just
all right.
or the legs spread and they just go freedom. But Josh, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking yet again some ice water here. I have learned that in this pandemic, trying to stay hydrated as much as possible is very rewarding. Clearly, it's actually just a bottle full of vodka if I'm already slurring my words. And
it's as much as possible.
It's just as much as possible. All right. Cheers, queers.
Cheers, queers.
All right, but ooh,
I took too much in, and had to slurp it down. Oh my God, that was not very ladylike. I'm so sorry. It's the bubbles.
We are live.
Can I just say I was so put together. I got my makeup on. My hair is sprayed like a helmet. And next thing I know, I'm burping. I'm getting FaceTime calls.
To be fair, it is I hate to use astrology as an excuse, but we are in the middle of Mercury retrograde, and I don't know about you, but I've been fucking feeling it this week. Like the split ends of my hair, like just show how stressed out I've been this week, and the fact that technology is fucking you up right now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Prime example. Yeah. So don't worry, we're all in it together, baby.
Oh, thank God.
Yes.
Oh God, I'm getting burpy again. Hold on.
That I can't help you with. I can't give you an excuse.
I'm trying to give you like subtle burps, like little baby burps, like, but it like, okay. I think I'm okay. I took a lot of bubbles in. Okay. I think I'm good.
Okay.
Nope. I'm I'm good. I promise I will not throw up on this podcast. That's only happened like once before, but I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Josh, let's do this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, before we get into the heart of our gay agenda, we're gonna do another segment of Catch That Queer.
In which we talk about someone who has positively impacted the LGBT. What?
The
What?
LGBR2D2.
What? I must be Star Wars on the brain. Someone who has positively impacted the LGBTQ plus community in the past, present, or the future. And today, Josh is going to be running through someone for Catch That Queer.
Yes. So basically, Kyle and I always like to talk about how we're a little bit ahead of the culture here. And I wanted to highlight an up and coming artist that I feel like everybody should be adding to their current playlist here. It's Cakes da Killa. So, for those of you who don't know who Cakes da Killa is, they are a rapper based in New York City, though apparently they do live in Atlanta right now. And they have actually been credited to help expand queer acceptance within the hip hop community. Something we never really talk about is the fact that, I mean, granted, I'm not a rapper, so I don't know, but apparently there's a lot of homophobia within the rap community.
You're not a rapper?
I'm not a rapper. I hate to say it.
You spit the rhymes. You spit
Yeah.
the rhymes.
Yeah.
Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb.
See, even that would be better than what I could have came up with. But anyway, so they, like I said, are part of a movement like with Mickey Blanco, Big Frida, like just like a lot of people who are expanding queer acceptance within the hip hop community. So, Kyle, have you heard of them before?
You know, I thought I didn't, and then you sent me some videos, and I was like, "Wait, I know this person." Well, like, I don't know her, but like, I am familiar with some of the music.
Okay, yeah. Basically, just a little bit backstory about where they came from here. They originally started to freelance on the internet. They would take instrumentals and just kind of free flow over them and then post it to social media, which I had to giggle with because I was just like, that's how Kyle and I got our theme song. So are we the next up and coming rappers?
Are we fakes to Killa? Instead of cakes to killer, we're fakes.
Right, we're fakes to Killa. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they gained attention from a producer named Styx, who then signed them to their Downtown Mayhem label. And so they helped him release a couple of mixtapes. And how they actually became like more known is because Pitchfork actually reviewed one of their mixtapes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And go. Yeah, I was gonna say, and as you know, Pitchfork, for whatever reason, I love Pitchfork, but they can be kind of pretentious sometimes. I feel like whenever Pitchfork actually finds new artists and actually gives them like good reviews and stuff like that, people then all of a sudden are just like, well, if Pitchfork likes it, that means I must like it too.
Right.
And then they then featured them in a feature-length article titled "We Invented Swag: New York City's Queer Rap," and it goes on further about explaining like the rise of, you know, like I said, Mickey Blanco, Cakes da Killa, people who are releasing queer music, and people are actually been like, oh shit, this is actually really good. Like, who cares about their sexuality? Now this was back in 2013. So around this time frame, it was like a huge deal, the fact that Cakes da Killa was gay. Because this was around the same time that Frank Ocean came out. Yeah.
Right.
So there's a few articles. I wanted to read a quote from what he said to Out magazine. The Killer once said, "People make it sound like it's controversial and revolutionary, and that's weird to me. Because in hip hop, you have people glorifying negativity like killing people and not taking care of your kids, and that should be scandalous. That should be scandalous. That should be what we're talking about. An openly gay rapper shouldn't be breaking news." And then in a 2015 interview in Ebro in the Morning, the Killer then was credited as an openly gay rapper. And he's like, hold on. I'm a rapper who just happens to be gay. So I just like the fact that even like in 2013, 2014, like he was just like, this isn't a big deal, sis. Like, it's like, who cares? Like, just listen to my music. Yeah. And I love their style. They have a lot of like voguing like house music, and then few singles that people should be listening to are Goody Goodies, Dundada, and ICU. Basically, they're fun party starters. And I think that they should be included in like everyone's like Pride playlist, basically. And then it made me think, we should be including more queer artists on our Pride playlist. Like, as much as I love Gaga and
Yeah.
Beyonce and stuff like that, we should be like expanding our horizons here and be like putting queer music while celebrating a historic queer day. So that is my catch that queer, and I think people should be adding him to his playlist right now. So
Well, that's great too, because like during Black History Month, we want to highlight like queer Black people. And I think that Case to Killa sounds like something, no pun intended, uh, sounds like someone that everyone should be listening to. I think, if you're going to give attention to, and this is no shade, Troye Sivan, who is a queer white twink, why are we not giving attention to queer Black people or others that are queer people of color? That are making bops like left and right. So I think that's great. We should totally highlight that. So maybe that's like a queer person, a catch that queer moment of the present and the future.
And the future? Well, because I think we brought this up a few episodes ago, just the fact that like, no matter what you're doing, as long as you're like creating art, you are leaving an impact, regardless of what the audience may be saying.
Yeah.
Not saying that towards our own podcast here, because we know that we're beloved here. But like, I think it's great the fact that, we're discovering new artists that have been around for, like, he's been around since 2012, and they're finally now getting the recognition that I think that they deserve.
He's only 9 years old.
He's only 9 years old. Yeah. Actually, do you remember that Netflix show, Hustle and Flow?
Yes.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, it was a Netflix show. It was like
I did not watch it.
Okay. It was like a competition to figure out like who would be the best rapper, kind of like an American Idol type situation. Cakes the Killer was actually in episode 2.
Oh. We'll go figure. As a contestant or like a judge or something?
As a contestant. Unfortunately, they didn't go further. But it was really cool because then he was talking about like New York City rap in general, just like their type of style. For those of you who are really interested in like the history of music, it's kind of interesting to hear from a queer person's perspective of just like what music means to them. So check it out. It's on Netflix. Episode 2, he has a great audition. Cardi B is one of the judges.
Right. That's how I remember, because I was like, Cardi B, was Chance the Rapper connected to it? Okay. See, I know things sometimes.
I'm young and hip.
I'm young and hip. I have a hip. I have 2 hips.
Yeah.
Got 2
But
hips.
I was gonna say, would you include any of Cakes the Killer's music to your Pride playlist?
Yeah, no, totally. I think that his music is really good, and like I really like this one song. Promise I will find. Oh, here it is. Love Me Nots. Did you hear that? Could you hear that? Love Me. I knew I had it here.
But don't play too much of it, because I don't know how to do like copyright on these videos, and I don't want YouTube to take us down.
Don't take us down.
Right.
Don't take me away. Yeah, Love Me Nots. That was the song that I would like heard and I went, "Oh wait, I know this," but I'm so bad with names of songs and people that like
Clearly.
I am. I'm like I feel like I have to like listen to it, and then once it gets to a certain point I go, "Oh, I know this. Oh, I know this. Okay."
Oh, I know this.
Like
Yeah.
it reminds me of the story that my aunt told me, that she said back in the day, like when they only had records, she went into the record store in like the 70s and she couldn't remember the name of like anything. And she was like, "Oh, you know that one song?" And they're like, "We have no idea what you're saying." And they made her sing the entire song. And then they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's over there." Like, I feel
the
like
entire song.
yeah, I feel like that's me. Like, I'm like, "Oh, it's that one song that's like, na, 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 na." And people are like, "Wait, could you tell what that was?"
I only like So What by Pink.
Well, as a huge Pink fan, from our Rate the Divas episode, you would know that I would say "So What" about her.
now to get to the heart of our gay agenda. This week, Kyle and I are going to be reviewing a documentary film that came out in 2016 called Kiki. For those of you who don't, actually, let me backtrack here. So we've talked about this documentary many times on the podcast. Paris is Burning came out in 1990. It's considered like one of the most quintessential queer viewings of all time. We talked in length about how it stands today, what it meant for the ballroom scene back in 1990. But Kiki almost kind of expands upon everything that was talked about in Paris is Burning and modernizes it. So we talked about a little bit earlier about how there is vocabulary now that is used throughout the film that seems more up to date and relevant. We get to see a little bit more in depth of some of the prevalent issues that the queer community, especially part of the Kiki scene, face. Before we do that, though, I'm just going to list off a few facts here so that way everyone's on the same page here. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. I think, yeah, for those people who have not watched the film yet, you can either pause this and go watch the movie. It's 90 minutes long, or you can just, spoiler alert, and that's okay too, and listen to this or watch us
Yeah.
and be informed about what the film is. And then we're going to lead with a discussion.
Yeah. That being said, it is on Amazon Prime for those of you who have a Prime membership, but it's only on there until February 28th. So if you do want to watch it, get
Oh,
to it
well,
here. Yeah.
yeah, you
Otherwise,
got a
it's
couple
going
days.
back into the Amazon vault.
Into the Disney vault.
Yeah. Like I was just thinking of us like the vault closing and the VHS tape
Remember,
like
do
floats
you
away.
remember that? Oh my God. I remember every time they would have those commercials, it'd be like, the sword and the stone will be going back into the Disney vault. And I'd be like, no! I don't even like that movie.
Did you ever even watch that movie?
Oh, no. But like, I can vividly remember being like, Mom, Dad, I gotta get the sword and the stone. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Go watch Mulan again. Like,
Right.
I was like, why are you upset by this?
Right. Okay. So Kiki is directed by a person named Sara Jordenö, who was asked to direct the film alongside the co-writer and kind of the main focus of the film, Twiggy Pucci Garçon, who is the head of the opulent house of Pucci. So the documentary was filmed approximately about 3 years, and it highlights the Kiki scene in New York City of Greenwich Village. Um, so a few of the people's names that you should remember throughout the podcast are Twiggies, Gia Marie Love, Azana Vidal, Devo Pink Lady, and Chi Mizrahi. I'm sorry, I mispronounced that. But basically, it's sort of like a portrait narrative in the sense that, like, while we get to see the Kiki scene and, the updated ballroom scene in New York City, there's like 5 or 6 individuals that the film kind of focuses on of like, what's your story? Like, where you come from? How does this affect you today? And it kind of brings about all the topics that we continue to talk about in this podcast, which is trans rights, protecting trans people against violence and queer people of color, getting healthcare rights for these individuals, especially against STIs and HIV, and then also the unfortunate matter of even homelessness for a lot of these people. That is still, unfortunately, a very big thing today. So that was basically just the overall synopsis of the film. I feel like that wasn't too spoilery. I feel like you could probably still kiki along with us here.
Yeah.
Kyle, what was your initial thought of the film?
Well, let's have a Kiki. Upon watching it, I mean, first of all, I love documentaries in like
Mhm.
every form, because I love knowledge. Knowledge is power. And being such a fan of Paris is Burning as I am, I kind of took it as that spiritual sequel to Paris is Burning. But
Mhm.
kind of what you mentioned, there's a lot of things that are different or that we grow with when it comes to this movie. I think the power this film has is unlike Paris is Burning, which a lot of people do like. I love it. It does at times feel a little exploitative. Um,
You mean Paris is Burning?
Paris is Burning. Paris is
Right.
Burning. Yes. because in Paris is Burning, it feels almost like you are someone viewing. It's like going to a zoo. You're
Hmm.
viewing others um as an audience member and not as someone who has been necessarily invited in.
Right.
Um
It's like God's
and
point of view, like,
it is,
yeah.
yeah. Whereas like with Kiki, I think one of the powers that it has is the fact that Twiggy is not only one of the leads of the film, and we follow their story closely, but also the fact that Twiggy is a co-writer, because
Hmm.
then it almost comes across as a
Like a
almost
diary.
like a diary, right? I think that's a great way to put it. It's like a diary. It feels very intimate and it doesn't feel exploitative. It feels like we've been invited in um to this community. And so I very much enjoyed the film.
Hmm.
What did you think? What was your first reaction to the film?
I thought it was kind of interesting because I feel like another difference between Paris is Burning and Kiki, which I totally agree with, that I, as much as I love Paris is Burning, there
Mhm.
is sort of like a disconnect from the filmmaker and the subjects that they are trying to highlight.
Right.
One thing that Kiki does really well is that it doesn't stop to have to explain anything to you. Like,
Hmm.
it's either you know this as common knowledge at this point of what the Kiki ballroom scene is, or
Hmm.
you know what the vocabulary they're using to describe themselves, or B, if you don't, then the film doesn't cater to you, if that makes
Right.
sense. You should either expect it or go out and educate yourself on these things and then come back and revisit it, which is almost
Mhm.
why I would even say you should watch Paris is Burning first and then watch Kiki, because though they have similar themes and topics, you get kind of that explanation from the first film. And then you
Yes.
get to see how it evolves over the years to present day to 2016.
Right. And
Um, yeah, so I thought that was really cool.
mhm. Well, I was gonna say that I think something that it does really well is because we do have understanding of vocabulary and better understanding of transness.
Hmm.
Um, Paris is Burning. There, conversations about transness, like trans people have always been here. That's nothing new. And queer people have always been here. But I think Paris is Burning. There wasn't enough of that conversation happening necessarily in the mainstream, that now well, we're in 2021, but the film was made over the course of what, 2012 to 2016.
Hmm.
um so we have a better understanding of transness, of the level of racism,
Hmm.
the level of prejudice that queer people and especially Black queer people face.
Hmm.
uh and where, while those things were always happening, they're more in a semi-mainstream spotlight.
Yeah.
So like you said, I think if you don't know these things, you should know these things. If you
Hmm.
are an audience or a listener or viewer of this show, you have definitely heard us talk about it before.
Hmm.
But so I
Maybe
think
one or the past 60
maybe,
episodes that we've done.
yeah, the 60 some episodes that we've done.
Yeah.
I think Kiki, what's great is I love seeing the just power when it comes to community.
Hmm.
And I think Kiki, a big thing is most of them are young people.
Yeah.
The Kiki scene is made up of mostly young LGBTQ people of color, and it is a place for them to go and feel seen and feel included. It's a family. And I think it, while there's, competitions in the ballroom scene and
Hmm.
voguing and all the other good stuff, it definitely feels more personal,
Yes.
especially when it comes to the character and the individual of Gia. um
Yes.
let's talk about Gia a little bit, because I think first of all, she was my favorite person in the film.
Me too.
And was she really?
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
easily. So
So
for those of you who haven't watched the film yet and don't want to hear any spoilers yet, I would say now is the time where you can stop, because now we're just not even caring about whether or not you've watched it or not. We're just going to talk about it here. Um, Gia, Gia's story starts in about, I think, 2012 when the film starts. We see her as presenting as a masculine figure. Um, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but there were moments where they even said that like I don't feel right in my body, and then as it sort of intertwines with throughout the film of her transitioning to who she truly feels like. We see her grow out her hair. We see her feel more comfortable in speaking at like those conventions that they all had, like when they come together as a community and stuff like
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
And then one of the scenes that made me feel very sad for her was when they were just filming along the street, and we see firsthand of her getting harassed by young kids. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was a unfortunate, but also very vital thing for us to have to view.
Well, so often I think people think, oh, trans people, like they don't understand the trans experience and
Hmm.
the mentality of, I mean, I don't understand that mentality. I feel like I've been saying this for the past week is, oh, it hasn't happened to me. Therefore, I don't know how to empathize with that. That's been my theme the past week in conversation with different people amongst different things is because you haven't had a trans experience. I
Hmm.
can't empathize with you because you haven't had, because you're not Black. How can you ever empathize? You know what? I've never been a part of a terrorist attack, and I still can empathize with people who have experienced terrorism or a school
Right.
shooting. I've never been persecuted because of my gender. I've never been persecuted because of the color of my skin, and I can still empathize and be pissed off for
Hmm.
those people. Um, so let me bring it back now, y'all. But the what I'm getting at is even though you should be able to empathize with someone who is a Black trans woman, and when they say these things happen to me, I'm being harassed, the world is violent towards me.
Hmm.
um it is a moment that I think is important for people to see that it does happen and it's not planned out. They're not going up to these kids like, hey, go ahead and harass her.
No.
Like this is real life, this actually happens.
Right.
And it happened in broad daylight, so it's not, no one's hiding in the shadows, you know. People are so emboldened with their hate
Hmm.
and their
And their
discrimination that it,
ignorance.
and
Yeah.
their ignorance, right? And I think that's why like films like this are so important because they do help educate even people like us who are within the LGBTQ plus community, uh that it helps us further navigate conversations that we did not think that we should be having to begin with. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Oh, totally.
Like because we are not Black trans women, we are almost like, well, how do we have that conversation? But in reality, we need to be having those conversations because, as we know, Black trans women are murdered left and right here in this country,
Hmm.
and the level of anti-Blackness and anti-transness
And the
is
lack of protection that federal laws would refuse to help these people.
yes.
It's, yeah, like they're just sitting ducks practically half the time.
Right. So for Gia, you do see in the beginning, she is it's her pre-transition. She's kind
Hmm.
of discovering her identity, or I guess not necessarily discovering, because I think that something that a lot of people think is, oh, like when did you know you're trans, or when did you know you were gay, or when did you know? I think everyone always knows, but I think
Hmm.
it's just being comfortable or being in a safe enough environment in order to truly be yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a wonderful moment because you see Gia kind of uncomfortable or, you know, figuring out how to verbalize her transness
Hmm.
to the end of the film when she is thriving as a Black trans woman. Um, she has a great job, she's gone to college, she has great friends, she's leading these discussions
Hmm.
in community centers, and she's a pillar of this community, that the Kiki ballroom scene, you know, goes around.
Hmm.
So it's a nice character arc, like a
Yeah.
hero's journey in a way, for Gia, and I think it's really important that viewers are able to go along that journey with her.
Yes.
And I think the film does that really successfully.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because like even though it is like Twiggy's video diaries, it is quite fascinating to see Gia's journey throughout the entire film, because in a way Gia kind of, in my opinion, is kind of the heart of the film. And then another thing that made me realize when I was watching the film is the fact that even though we all say we come together as a queer community and, you know, we're all under one big happy family tree, it just goes to show that, like, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't know what it is to feel like a trans person.
Mhm.
Do I obviously empathize and want to help protect these members? Obviously. But there are so many people out there within the queer community who don't have that. And it's so sad to know that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I just hope that films like these, if people actually do expand and watch these types of films, hopefully they can realize that, oh, even as a queer person, I need to be better. I need to do better. Um,
Right. And
so I
I
definitely,
think go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say, so I definitely think that that film definitely like opens your eyes to be like, this is still happening even now. So
100%. I
so get it
think
together.
well, and I think I don't know if I for those who don't know, I'm white. But I know, I'm sorry. Um, so I think that when it comes to helping others or helping organizations or whatever it is, it's always going to come off as performative.
Hmm.
Um, even though I obviously like have love and empathy and care for the communities that I want to help. That being said, this film I think does a great job of just presenting it to you in a way that you're like, do you wonder what like Black trans youth need? This is what they need. How
Right.
can you help us with that?
You're
As
literally
opposed
like
to,
sitting in a like you're literally sitting in one of their meetings, be like, this is
Mhm,
what's happening, this is what we
yeah,
need. Like, yeah, that's something that Paris is Burning does not do.
yeah, because I think that sometimes like as um either allies to communities or whatever it may be, you're like, how can I help? How can I help? And you're trying to figure out how you personally can help. When in reality, you just have to listen.
Hmm.
And some of the things that they talk about is, LGBTQ homelessness, like youth homelessness, especially Black and brown kids. Um, and like, why that shouldn't be happening in this country. It is
Hmm.
happening in this country.
Hmm.
Um, but you can't tout that the United States is the greatest country in the world when you have queer children out on the streets, when you have HIV running rampant through, as we know, Black and brown communities.
Hmm.
It's like, how can we help? How can we give resources uh, in our time to these communities? And Kiki does a really good job of that.
Hmm.
Um, even did you find it interesting that when Twiggy went to the White House,
Hmm.
so Twiggy, who is the co-writer of the film,
Hmm.
uh ends up working with a organization that brings awareness and provides help to homeless LGBTQ youth, right?
And this is under Obama's administration, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. This is pre turd in the White House.
Yeah.
And
That's something
uh
else I want to bring up too.
oh, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
But Twiggy ends up going to the White House and being honored at the LGBTQ summit by Obama. And while at the White House, is called by his landlord and told that he is being evicted.
Hmm.
And this is a gentleman who has a job. This is a gentleman who also, the irony of him advocating for homeless youth, and now he no longer has a
It has
home.
a home,
And
exactly.
that's a reality. That's a reality. When I talk about Gia and like, we see Gia being uh, persecuted or harassed, and
Hmm.
it's like, oh, that really happens. While we know this happens, somehow visually you see it and you're like, oh, it is happening. For
Right.
Twiggy, it's like you hear that uh you know LGBTQ people are not always guaranteed safe housing,
Hmm.
and it's literally on film. You
Right.
have Twiggy's being kicked out of his home.
Right.
um
Which did they explain like the reasoning of what the landlord said? I forgot.
I don't think they did. But
Which
that's
also
some.
just even makes it shadier, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I mean landlords are pretty shady to begin with. But
Right.
I think that something that I'm not sure if it was an Obama era ruling, and Trump got rid of it, or if there isn't even a ruling, but there is issues with housing protections when it comes to being an LGBTQ person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, between Twiggy and then some of the other people in the film, they talk about is her name Chris,
Mm-hmm.
the trans woman? Yeah. So there's a trans woman who is it Chi Chi? Is it Chi Chi's
It's Chi-Chi,
daughter?
Twiggy. Wait, who are we talking about?
Like in her house,
Yes, it
Chris.
is Chi-Chi's daughter. Yes.
Okay. So Chi Chi is another character in the film. It's Twiggy's best friend. So Twiggy's
Mm-hmm.
best friend Chi Chi's daughter in his house, in the ballroom scene, is named Chris, and she also goes through her transition. And she has this conversation when it comes to getting a job and
Mm-hmm.
how trans women, uh, you know, unless you are
Passing.
passing that, yeah, it's like a really
Which is
weird
a
term
yeah.
because like um trans people should not have to pass as cis in order to be deemed worthy or accepted in their transness,
Mm-hmm.
which they do talk about, but uh it, she talks about how there's no job security because of how this society works.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just gonna say, when you hear Chris talk about passing, that
Hmm.
is something that I do want to highlight in the sense of like that's something already that I feel like is kind of not outdated, but kind of showing just like how far we've even come, even in these five
Within the past
years.
couple of years. Hmm.
Exactly. Because now we have people who are just like, you shouldn't have to pass in order to be validated as a trans person. People are now finally coming around to understanding that, I feel like, especially cis people. Um, but yeah, it just goes to show that there are certain rules and privileges that if you don't follow within this level of what white people want you to be, then
Hmm.
your life is pretty much in danger. Um,
Right.
do I think do I think it's getting better? I guess. I also feel like I don't know if it's like white performativeness for people to say like, oh no, like I will make sure to do better and make sure that you have a job protection, you know?
Well, yeah,
I don't
it's hard.
know.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it feels like you're shouting in a cave. Like,
Yeah.
and by you, I don't mean just you. But I mean like, like it feels
I am
like
in an
you're
empty room.
you're in an empty room. I'm actually in a cave right now. I've gone spelunking.
You just see a
Um,
cave person behind you.
that's that's my boyfriend. No, just kidding. I don't have one. But but I think sometimes shouting into the cave,
Hmm.
like everyone for the most part is within the same boat. So it's like people who are part of the queer community, it's like, what can you do in order to help these people? And
Hmm.
sometimes we as queer people don't have the means ourselves, and I think that's why it's so important for allies to watch films like this,
Hmm.
to share posts, to donate to different organizations, to listen to what people are saying they need,
Hmm.
um and
Well, that's
uplifting
also
voices that need to be
yeah.
heard, because it's like it's one thing for me to be like, wow, like these trans people, they go through these experiences, like like they have these terrible things happen to them, and the only people who are responding to me saying that are other queer people who are like, yeah, no, seriously.
Hmm.
But it's another thing for like a white cis straight guy to be like, you know what, yeah, trans people deserve to be treated equally as others, and black people deserve to be treated equally as others. It's the
Hmm.
idea that I saw this professor, I believe he is a professor at DePaul University here in Chicago, say until white people are as angry about racism as black people are, there's not going to be a change. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like until cis people are as angry at the treatment of trans people as trans people are,
Mm-hmm.
there's
Or
not
there's
going to
not
be a
going to be a
change,
change.
because it's just going to be trans and queer people continuing to just like, we're just like going back and forth, but there's not,
Mm-hmm.
we
Well,
all have to
and
come together.
right. Well, I was gonna say, and that's also kind of like where I'm actually struggling in terms of talking about this film because I'm talking to you, a fellow queer person who,
Hmm.
we already know this, like you said. And so it's just like, who is this conversation going towards, if that makes sense? Like, I hope there are straight white male out there who are listening to this and learning something from this. But how will you know until you see the actions behind it? You
Right.
know?
And I think people, they don't realize how subtle their actions have to be. Like, you don't have to, you
You
know,
don't have a banner.
you don't, in fact, please don't. But just like talk, straight white people, straight cis white people, what can you do? You can take the conversation, if you are listening and engaging with us. You
Hmm.
can take what we're talking about and you can go back to other cis straight white people
Hmm.
and talk to it with them. And because like I think sometimes as queer people we only talk to queer people. um
No straights.
no, no straights allowed.
Yeah.
um no
The
straights
clubhouse.
allowed.
Or I was like, we're in a little clubhouse.
But I think that until you guys start talking about uh with others in your own community, um how is the conversation going to further?
Hmm.
you know it's
Right.
it's kind of like, instead of me talking to my Black friends about racism, I should be talking to my white friends about racism,
Hmm.
and how to dismantle white supremacy.
Hmm.
um it's like queer people, we already know it. uh Black people already know it. Trans people already know it. Go to the communities that aren't talking about it and have those conversations. Also,
Right.
yes, I am holding a paintbrush because it was just sitting next to me, and I'm about to paint you a picture,
I was
okay?
gonna say they're painting the picture home here. Yeah.
Painting the
Uh,
picture.
yeah, and I do think another thing too, which I feel like the film also kind of roughly talks about here, but the sense of like social media now is helping in so many ways. Like,
Mhm.
not feel like you're shouting into the abyss. Like,
Yeah.
especially with like Twitter and Instagram.
Mhm.
Though I do have issues with both of those places alone when it comes to
100%.
blacklisting people. At least you're getting the conversation out there, but I do think that only helps so much. Like, I do think that you then need to take this and discuss it among other people. One thing that I actually am pretty guilty about, which I probably shouldn't have done in hindsight, is after the 2016 election, I deleted a lot of people off of my Facebook who were openly Trump. And at the time, I was just like, oh, like, I don't want to have to deal with this. I don't want to have to, see this on my timeline and stuff like that. But I'm realizing now that to start a conversation, you would have to like be willing to go to these people and be like, hey, like, this is why it's not correct. This is why we should be having a conversation to help better this situation.
Yeah.
um
I mean, I see what you're saying when it comes to that. Um,
mhm.
do you have something else to say?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say too, I was just like, and now I want to continue to push that by like people who I work with. There's a lot of people who I work with who aren't aware of these situations, like
Hmm.
expanded to having in-person conversations with them, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And I mean, I'll say this about deleting people or blocking people who don't agree with you. I think it is definitely up to each individual to do whatever they think they need to do.
Hmm.
But I do think that when it comes to being like a marginalized person, getting rid of those toxic assholes on your timeline is a survival skill. That it's kind of like, you know what? You don't need to see racist bullshit all the time. You don't need to see these QAnon conspiracy theories, because you got to survive. You'll lose your goddamn mind, and I'm already on the edge as it is. So I think that it is a survival thing.
Did you
And
hear
I
the new QAnon conspircy theory about how
oh god, what is it now?
well, just the how the vaccines will turn you gay? And I'm just like, can I get like three more? Like,
Okay, well, this is my coming out. I've had the vaccine, and I'm
you
gay.
have. Oh, I thought you were for
No,
real.
I was making a joke. I haven't gotten the vaccine yet. I'm like last on the list.
Yeah.
The couch potatoes are last on the list.
Right.
But I'll also go on to say that when it comes to having conversations about subjects that maybe people aren't aware of, or are, about communities that they don't necessarily engage in, um, the people have to be willing to have a conversation. And I think
That's
that when
true.
it comes to Trump supporters specifically, uh, people who support Trump blindly, you can't. I've tried having conversations especially in 2016, when the election first, when Trump first took office, and it's impossible to try to convince someone that other people's lives matter beyond their own.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to get people to engage with you in a civil way without them resorting to, well, I'm right, you're wrong, Trump's president, get used to it. Um, and it's impossible to convince someone that they're being racist when they don't want to understand why you're saying they're being racist.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can have conversations with people that disagree with you. I think I do all the time. We're doing it right now. We disagree with each other on everything. Actually,
Everything.
actually, that's not true. We agree with each other on a lot of things. But I do appreciate when you and I disagree on things, because I think that it's like, how do we better understand each other as people?
Mm-hmm.
If we don't disagree sometimes, and talk it out, and work through whatever it is we need to work through. But if someone's going to choose to not understand you, like they're like making it a point, like, I'm not going to understand this person, they're you can't
Why
do anything with
bother?
them.
Yeah,
Why
like
bother?
yeah. And
Like,
it also shouldn't be our responsibility to then feel like we need to educate them either.
100%. I think that a huge thing that I've heard people say is, well, like sometimes people don't like the tone of Black Lives Matter, for instance. They'll say, "Oh, it's too aggressive for me," which is bullshit.
Right.
Stop tone policing Black people. But they'll say that, and I've heard someone say, "Well, you know, the Black community should come to the white people and engage that." No, it's like, white people created this mess. White people
Right.
created racism. White people created white supremacy. So it's white people's jobs to like extend like love and compassion to the Black community and say, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And not be like, well, I'm not going to do it because they didn't come to me in a way that I found to be nice. I'm like, it's the same way when it comes to straight people. It's like, why should queer people extend an olive branch to a straight person when most of our lives we have been made fun of, we have been treated poorly, we have
We've been
been
murdered.
murdered, looked down upon, our rights don't matter to them. Why should I go to a straight person and say, you know what? How can I engage with you in a way where my tone is going to meet how you think I should be talking? Fuck that. And you need to get used to it.
Right. Because it's just another level of white supremacy in a way. Like,
Right. No,
mhm.
exactly. It's all of these things are symptoms of white supremacy. Um, and I think Trump is a big one of those. But that was just what I was going to say is, while I agree that sometimes like deleting people who don't agree with you, you're like, oh shit, I could have had those conversations with people that don't agree with me. Man, I could have, reached out, and it's a survival thing. Like you don't feel bad about it.
Well, one thing and this is just my
Block,
right, this is
block,
no, this is just
do
my
it.
own personal experience.
Hmm.
Even though I consider myself, or I mean, obviously I'm Asian. I consider myself Asian, even though I am Asian, even though I
Yes.
am a queer person.
Hmm.
There is something from my own personal experience in life that I somehow still feel like I have a lot of privilege to my name. I've never been discriminated against for a job. I have never been harassed or bullied to a sense of feeling unsafe. I have, now granted, maybe that's just like somehow the lucky bubble that I've been able to put myself in. I don't know. maybe it is survival tactics that I've done that I don't even realize at this point here. I think I was just coming from the sense of like, I do feel like I have a sense of privilege where I am able to talk about this with other people, whether it be from Iowa, my hometown, or, people at my job. I guess
Well,
that's
you're
just where
very
I've,
likable. Your privilege is you're likable. Congratulations.
right. Something that unfortunately Kyle does not have.
No, I'm very unlikable.
No, I'm kidding.
Just
Um,
kidding. I like myself so much. I look in the mirror every day and I go, okay, everyone, do this. This is big 2021 energy. And I've told like 3 people to do this, and it sounds cheesy. Everyone should look in the mirror when they get up in the morning and like just say something nice about yourself. Like, I know that sounds cheesy, but like people need to like themselves more. You need to like
yeah.
yourself as much as like a delusional straight cis white man.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why queer people don't. But anyways,
um, sorry. I feel like we're going on like major tangents here, but I do feel like in a way this all connects back to Kiki.
it all
Um,
goes back to Kiki. We're having a Kiki. Um, I
we are
actually
having a
heard
Kiki.
I actually heard the Twiggy and the individual who made the film talk about the term Kiki.
Sara
Um,
Jordenö.
yes, and I think that that's something that we could always talk about because Kiki is they said it's a noun, it's a verb, it's like a vibe, it's a get together, a having a good time. Um, and they named the film that because they want you to have a good time. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, the film deals with all of these very serious subjects.
Right.
And I feel in a way that like us having these conversations right now, like you and I like to have fun, like we like to do stupid stuff and just be dumb.
Right.
Um, but we also need to get serious sometimes. And I think that humans are complicated and should be able to have multiple dualities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one of them.
Well, I was gonna say, in a way, this is our version of having a Kiki, of just sitting down
Yeah.
and having a conversation about some pretty tough stuff, but something that is necessary and also something that also helps us grow as people. I feel like you and I, especially, we like to talk a lot.
We love to talk, and that's
Yeah.
us on Fear the Queer. No, that's
Yeah.
that's like a little tagline.
Yeah. So moving forward, I guess, what are your final thoughts on the film?
I
What do
think
you
my
think
final
compared to Paris is Burning and stuff like that, or the climate today, even?
I when it comes to the climate today, I think people should watch Paris is Burning if they haven't, and then watch Kiki. But
Hmm.
I highly encourage just everyone to watch Kiki. Um, Especially, we're in Black History Month. So what better way to support and try to understand the issues that maybe the Black community and especially the queer Black community goes through than to watch a film and go, okay, that's what I need to do.
Hmm.
Those are the organizations that you need to reach out and go forward with. I think some of the themes that it covers when it comes to transness, blackness, racism, homelessness, the HIV epidemic, and community within queer spaces, I think you don't necessarily have to. You can be that straight cis white man and you can watch it and still go, you know what, I get this film because at the end of the day, it is a coming of age film. It
Yeah.
does deal with queer young people
Right.
and how
And
they
some of the
find their
common,
place in the world.
I was gonna say, a lot of the common themes are just like, who am I?
Mhm.
What can I contribute to this world? Where can I find a place where I'm accepted and loved? That's something that everyone goes through, regardless of
Yes.
what you identify as.
Yeah.
And I'll shout it into the abyss again. Representation matters. Like it
Exact.
just
Oh,
goes to
yeah.
show that just like so many common themes of what people go through in life can be shown all across the board of people who look like you, look like me, maybe not look like me, but
Don't look like anyone,
yeah,
you know, or do look like yeah, I
your
think
imaginary boyfriend.
hey. Oh my god, he just winked at me. Stop it. It's not. Can you hear him?
No.
Can you hear him? No. Oh my god, he just said the dirtiest thing. I can't repeat it. I can't repeat it. I'm going
Great.
to
We're gonna
repeat
have
it.
we're gonna
I'm
have an
gonna
age
repeat.
restriction on this video.
I'm gonna repeat it. He said, "I'm making tacos." tacos later. What kind of
What
tacos, babe?
slut?
I know. He's gonna crisp them up in my air fryer. Sorry,
Damn.
I'm like drooling. Oh my god. Oh my god, stop it. Okay, he just took his pants off. Later. So everyone should have an imaginary boyfriend, watch the film Kiki, and say something nice about themselves in the in the mirror every single day.
Right, because
That's the
while you're-
takeaway from this episode.
Right. I was gonna say, if you need to move forward in 2021, just do exactly what Kyle is doing.
Thriving, I think, is what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
So again, before we let everyone go here, Kiki is on Amazon Prime until February 28th. Please watch it if you can. That being said, maybe watch Paris is Burning first as sort of like a nice introductory history lesson for those
And
of you.
is Paris is Burning? That's still on Netflix, isn't it? Right?
It's free on YouTube.
It's free on the YouTubes.
On the YouTubes.
So
all they have to do is hop from our show to Paris is Burning. Yeah.
What? So they can go from our show and then go back to
right.
This is wild. This is technology at its finest. I am living. I am breathing.
Right. Because I mean, weirdly enough, Paris is Burning is actually kind of hard to get a hold of sometimes because Netflix will have it on for like a month and then get rid of it. Like it goes back into the Disney vault.
Category is Disney Vault.
Disney Vault, yeah. But then someone just uploaded it to YouTube, I think like 3-4 years ago, and it's just yeah, so it's there for everybody.
There you go.
Yeah. So Kyle, where can people find us?
You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Fear the Queer Podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and if you are watching us right now, we're on the YouTubes.
We're on the YouTubes. You know,
very modern.
Amongst the greats like Paris is Burning and Logan Paul. Jake Yonsei.
I don't know her. I don't know her. But you know what I do know? Oh my God, shoes. Oh my God, shoes. Josh, where can people not contact us?
They cannot contact us on QAnon because we do not have an account there. They cannot contact us on Tinder because Kyle is happily in a relationship with his boyfriend.
My imaginary boyfriend. Hey.
Yes. And they cannot contact us on Gmail because we do not check emails.
We don't check emails. We're very modern. Go ahead and slide into our DMs because not only does that guarantee that we will probably contact you back, it makes me feel kind of sexy. And then I can say, oh my God, guess who slid into my DMs?
And then his imaginary boyfriend gets jealous.
And I love a jealous significant other.
He withholds his tacos from Kyle until he feels better again.
Okay, now you're just talking crazy. I would break up with someone if they would withheld food from me. That
is fair. All right. As always, I'm Josh.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're Fear the Queer. Bye. What type of toppings is he going to put on?
He's about to imaginary top me. No, just kidding. Cheese, sour cream, probably another kind of cheese, lettuce, tomato, salsa, hot.
It's gonna be a messy night in the bedroom.
Don't eat in bed. Ew.